Hello, whisperers. Welcome to the channel. If you enjoy tonight's tale, don't forget to like, subscribe, and share. It helps more than you know. Now, dim the lights, and let's begin tonight's story. Dalton kept tapping his frozen glove against my shoulder on the flight in, just to annoy me. He knew it worked. That was his thing now, keeping things human right before they got inhuman. Luke, I swear, if this thing's just some tourist in a fur coat. He didn't finish the joke. The closer we got to the range, the more he stopped wanting to joke at all. I stared out the open side door and watched Alaska turn into absence. Trees went from sparse to skeletal to just gone, endless white, empty white, snow blowing sideways like the world was shrugging all life off of it. I felt like we were flying into a blank page that hated anything written on it. You shouldn't be here. Nothing should be here. The research outpost was supposed to have 7 staff. The distress beacon only fired once, then flatline. No voice, no message, just signal panic. Then nothing. 10 minutes, Mercer said through calm like always. He didn't raise his voice, didn't lower it. He just existed at steady, like a constant that monsters couldn't rewrite. My chest felt tight with altitude and cold, and an old creeping fear I thought I'd beaten 3 hunts ago. You should be past this by now. The helicopter dropped low, and we could finally see structures under us, rectangles half buried in wind drift snow. One satellite mast, bent at 45 degrees, generator blown out. One building roof peeled back like a sardine can top. Mercer's voice cracked softly in my ear. Weapons hot on touchdown. The rotors threw snow sideways when we landed, blinding white spin ripping across my face as we ran low to the blown-out entry door. The cold stabbed my teeth. I didn't know cold could feel sharp. Inside the first structure, my night vision barely helped. Everything reflected gray, not green. And the way dead fluorescent tubes hung down like torn veins made me want to keep my head down, but looking down felt worse. The walls inside were bent from the inside, like something had shoved outward with force and speed and didn't care about material resistance. There were claw marks, not surgical, not precision, just rage that wanted texture. The freezer room door was half crushed inward. I stepped inside with Mercer covering left and Dalton watching our 6. A man was stuck to the far wall, frozen, arms stretched slightly upward, face half encased in ice like he'd been thrown so hard against the wall, he flash froze on impact. His jaw was open like he was still trying to say the last thing he meant to say and never got the chance. One of his boots was missing. Dalton whispered, "This isn't the kind that hides you. This is the kind that makes sure the world knows what killed you." We found 3 blood patterns leading out the back airlock, straight out into the storm, straight toward white nothing. Mercer crouched near scratch marks on steel plating. Footprints drag light. Not heavy, that's strange. Means it carried weight while moving fast. Faster than anything at this altitude should be able to. Carried? I said. Carried like toys, Mercer said. I swallowed hard. The taste of metal in the air didn't feel natural. It felt lived in, like the cold itself had a memory. We moved toward the second building. The storm got worse fast. Wind velocity jumped. Snow slapped skin like sand. My eyes watered under the N.V.G. and the tears froze at the corners. We broke inside the second module and immediately stepped into the aftermath of terror so violent my body tried to shut down just seeing it. A table smashed through a lab hood. Blood frozen mid-splash on tiles like a crime scene turned into a sculpture. A metal IV stand bent into a U shape. A research cart embedded sideways into drywall like a thrown javelin. I felt sick. Dalton scraped frost from a broken tablet screen and muttered, "Down to 2 signatures, maybe. Or 1. He lowered his voice and leaned toward me like he suddenly felt guilty existing. This isn't a predator. This is cruelty. The word cruelty lodged deep in my brain because cruelty means intentionality. Cruelty means choice. Cruelty means pleasure. Why would anything enjoy pain outside of its own survival? We found a flare gun on the floor. Red. Trigger snapped. Someone tried to signal, and it didn't matter. The noise came then, a scream, not human, not machine, not animal. It sounded like meat, remembering it used to be alive. The 3 of us froze mid-step. My hands shook against the rifle without my permission. Dalton whispered, barely audible, "What the hell was that?" Mercer didn't answer. He moved toward the back hatch slowly, checking corners like we were back clearing hallways in Panama. We stepped out into the wind again. The scream came again, further, not close, not far. The storm made it directional chaos. My brain interpreted the scream not as aggression, but laughter. My skin crawled from ribs outward. "We track it," Mercer said. "We stop it from leaving this valley. If this thing migrates..." He didn't finish the sentence. We followed the drag marks, 2 sets. One looked like a body dragged light. The other looked like something leaping in bursts, like something that didn't walk with rhythm, like it chose weird distances for fun. Visibility dropped under 10 feet. Dalton's silhouette almost vanished in the white blur. When we topped a small ice ridge, Mercer froze up so sudden I almost ran into him. Below us, in a bowl-shaped depression between wind-carved slopes, a shape stood hunched over something, huge. White hair, matte, almost like fiber, back muscles like braided cable, arms too long for its proportions, legs jointed strange, like if you bent a mannequin wrong on purpose. It didn't see us yet. It was listening, not eating, not shredding, listening to the faint, wet noises beneath it like a chef enjoying the sizzle. My heart slammed once against my ribs like it wanted out of me. This thing likes pain. Dalton reached slowly for his radio, and Mercer tapped his knuckles once to stop him. Slow, not loud, not yet, Mercer whispered. The Yeti dropped whatever was in its hands. The body part, I think an arm, hit the snow and spun. I fought the urge to gag, not because of gore, because it dropped that piece like it was bored of it, like it was waiting for a new sound. Mercer leaned close and breathed into my ear, barely audible. It knows we're here. It just wants the timing. The creature didn't turn yet, but its head tilted just an inch, like it was giving us the stage to step onto. Dalton murmured under his breath, "I hate Alaska." My whole body felt like ice on the inside, like the cold was colonizing my nerves. We crouched low behind a jagged, angled rock lip, and Mercer pointed ahead toward the far ice shelf line, a place where ice overhung a dark drop. He was already thinking trap geometry, already thinking final kill space, already drawing the battlefield in his head. But I wasn't there yet. All I could do was breathe the cold in and realize this monster wasn't just violence. It was enjoying the anticipation of pain that hadn't happened yet. And the storm around us went silent all at once, like the entire frozen world held its breath. The storm swallowed our bodies the moment we broke position. Everything felt blind and close at the same time. Wind cut sideways across my cheeks like sandpaper. Dalton stayed on my right, Mercer slightly forward. We moved slow enough that the snow didn't roar behind us, slow enough to not announce anything. We followed the drag trail the creature left behind. It was sloppy, zigzagging, like this Yeti didn't need efficiency. It needed variation. It needed chaos. Pain wasn't a byproduct. Pain was entertainment. Monsters that play with their food. This is where the nightmares actually begin. We found the missing scientist frozen half upright near a small ice outcrop, mid-torn, mid-ruined, like he died still trying to pull himself back together. He didn't get the luxury of full destruction. The Yeti saved that moment for later, kept it suspended, like it wanted to extend the experience. Dalton shuddered beside me. We shouldn't have come here. It's contained here now, Mercer said. That's better than contained somewhere else. I couldn't tell if he meant that for us, or the rest of the world. We were maybe halfway through circling the basin toward the ice shelf when we heard snow crunching not far off. A human, a separate human. He stumbled out of a depression, local hunter maybe, beard frozen into shards, brow bleeding like he'd crawled for hours blinded by ice. He saw us and cried out in shock, relief, hope. "Help me," I saw. The Yeti tore through the white sideways like a carnivore birthed from the blizzard itself. No warning, no form, just pure violence in motion. It grabbed the man by the torso and twisted. Quick, final, like snapping a doll. The sound was short but vicious, wet, cruel. The poor man didn't even get a second scream out. Dalton fired reflexively, and I nearly did too. But Mercer clamped his hand on my forearm and yanked. No, not here. Not like this. We force it where we choose. He dragged us back, using snow ridges like sparse walls. The Yeti watched us. It dropped the ruined hunter like it was dropping a broken prop. Then it sunk slowly back into the white, like the storm gave it permission to fade. We broke for the ice shelf, a massive overhang where blue-black gaped down into darkness. Mercer jammed charges into the upper weak points of the ledge, quick and precise. We collapse it when it dives for us. It will. They test pain. They test the moment of fear. And they need to witness the break themselves. Dalton swallowed. Hard. We needed to commit first. We make it choose us, Mercer said. I knelt at the edge with rifle ready. My bones felt like they could hear my pulse. The wind suddenly died. Temperature dropped fast enough my teeth hurt. Silence in snow is worse than silence in forest. Trees still imply life. This was like the world paused breathing. The Yeti appeared again through the white, walking upright now, slow, deliberate, enjoying its unraveling performance. It dragged one long hand across its own ribs like it was feeling music inside itself. Luke, Dalton whispered, voice thin, it wants to savor us. Yeah, I knew. It wants to feel the moment right before we break. The creature crouched low, preparing, poised. Mercer pointed down at the shelf with 2 fingers behind cover. Brief, sharp, final signal. The next move is ours. The Yeti didn't leap like an animal. It cut through space like gravity wasn't the same for it. 1 second it was crouched. The next, the entire 9-foot wall of wrong muscle was airborne and closing the distance, like it wanted to crack all 3 of us open at once. I fired center hip, midair. Dalton hit the opposite side. Mercer took a top-line rib shot. Didn't slow it enough. It twisted mid-flight like it enjoyed the recoil of our bullets moving through it. It landed on the ice ledge hard. The sound was sharp enough. It felt like it hit my spine. Mercer shouted without needing volume. Now. I fired straight into the charge block, buried in the shelf. The ice gave way instantly. A massive slab broke under the Yeti, folding downward like a trapdoor with no hinges. It reached for us, long white rope arms scraping the air, fingers missing by inches. It tried to claw into the ledge. Ice cracked under its weight. The thing made a sound halfway between a laugh and an animal gargling fire. I leaned forward low and put 3 rounds straight into the base of its neck. That final scream wasn't pain. It was pleasure. Then it fell. It slammed into the black abyss below, a void of ancient frozen water and pressure, and that depth swallowed every bit of sound like the world didn't want witnesses. A beat. 2. Dalton exhaled first. I never want to see snow again. Mercer knelt in the wind, staring down the collapse point like he was trying to memorize the geometry. His voice was quiet when he finally spoke. Pain is a language to this one. Remember that. Some entities select prey not by weakness, but by what fear does to the bones. We marked the site and called evac. The storm came back in waves. The helicopter felt like sanctuary for the first time ever. When we lifted off, I watched the fracture line in the ice shrink smaller and smaller until it vanished into the endless blank white. Back at base, I wrote everything down while the numb still lived in my hands, because this one didn't just kill, it indulged. It stretched out fear like a candle wick before lighting it. But Mercer dropped a folder on my bunk before lights out and said one sentence that made my stomach drop clean through the floor. Pack cold gear again. We leave in 72 hours. They found something dormant in Russia. And it just woke up.